Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm but one of your hosts. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing, bud?
Reporting for duty, Sensei.
I'm
good. How are you doing, pal?
I'm good. One of my favorite things about this show, Joe, is that I absolutely never know how it's going to start. And that
you never know how I'm going to lead in, man.
Yep.
I'm unpredictable.
You're
like the wind.
Yep.
Never know which way I'm going to come at you.
Exactly. Well, for anyone joining us for the 71st time or 72nd, or however many times we would do this, over 70 now.
Yeah, that's a lot of times.
That's a lot of times. And for anyone else joining us for the first time, welcome. We talk about...
I'm so sorry. I had to interrupt you. You brought this up. This many podcasts.
Yes.
I want to see below in the comments how many people have listened to all of them. All 71 or 72, whatever. Who's listened to every one of them? Just podcasts, not other content, just podcasts. I want to know, has anyone listened to every one of them?
That's
Besides
actually
us.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder if we have like a few diehards who are just like, I went back to just the old audio ones where it was just our voices, but that'd be kind of
I'd love to know. Or how many have you listened to? You listened to like 75% of them, 80,
Sure.
Or all. Yeah, let us know. I'm curious.
Yeah, exactly. Also, if you haven't listened to all of them, if you want to say, if we want to go for like the person who's listened to the most, you could be like, I've listened to like 65 or something like that. You don't have to. Don't feel bad if you haven't listened to all of them. Or if you're listening to us for the first time, you can go back and listen to all of them if you want to. You can hear our beautiful voices and see our faces for most of them until we are just the audio ones.
And first person to comment gets $100.
Nope,
no,
definitely not. No. I was like, I'm going to comment. You just feel like, I did it.
Since I already know.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So anybody joining us for the first time, we talk about video games, movies, TV shows, the things we love so very much. But there's one huge thing that happened this past week that is more important than anything else if you're really into this nerdy stuff, and that is Comic-Con.
Huge.
It's huge.
Going to be huge.
Comic-Con happened. So we're going to be talking about all the news, all the big things coming out of Comic-Con. Joe, how much stuff out of Comic-Con have you seen?
Not a lot. I kept up with some of the Conan stuff. I was kind of interested in his, the Game of Thrones cast was on his show one of the nights, and he always goes there and, does his show from a theater there in San Diego, which I think is kind of cool. But, I've heard little rumblings here and there. I haven't necessarily gone in depth and looking at anything, but,
Sure.
I like to keep up on like who was there and, what was really going on. But, I know some second trailers or more info on movies that are coming up in the near future were really toted big time. But I don't know. You got a rundown for us on the major happenings?
I do. I want to start from kind of small stuff and work our way up to big stuff. The first thing, we got confirmation, Joe, that Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, will be directing a new rebooted Spawn film with a hard R rating and a focus on horror and kind of like action, but kind of a dark vibe to it. And apparently the only things he's really... He's only directed things in the past. He's directed a few... Korn music videos, so I'm really hoping for a brand new Korn single for Spawn, like it's specific to Spawn.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah,
and
I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope Spawn is good. I really think it's a good time for him to come back. We're kind of proven with like Deadpool and Logan that an R-rated superhero, if it fits in that realm of R-rated, kind of a movie-going audience, it can work. And I think if any time for Spawn to come back, maybe this is the best time to do it, especially around this time that people are excited for Venom coming out, kind of the same similar situation. But I want to know what you think about finally getting, like this movie is coming out and Todd McFarlane's directing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what we've heard thus far, the dark vibes, rated R, possibly more true, higher quality take on the character. I think that gets me excited. The original Spawn movie was, the concept is there, and the character Spawn is just a great foundation already. So only parts of that film were enjoyable to me. The rest of it was a little how do I want to describe this? You know, there were some practical effects. There was some mediocre CGI. The practical effects weirded me out a little bit, and then the CGI was just like off the charts. Like I couldn't even watch it anymore.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Yeah, but at the time, could you really blame them or fault them for that? Maybe not really. But one thing that bummed me out about that movie was the whole hell picture scene in the clown. I mean, I get that the clown is like there's like 3 of them or something, and they're all specific characters from that. But the way they portrayed them and stuff really almost just kind of freaked me out.
Yeah,
I get the horror aspect and everything, but it was almost like it was more in a zany, annoying sense.
Sure.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm hoping that they do better on that and they learn from the I guess the feeling that one left with people. So
yeah, the only thing that concerns me about this is that Todd McFarlane is directing it. Not saying that he'll be a bad director. He'll know exactly what he wants to be in this film because he loves this character. He created this character. My only concern is that he doesn't know how to direct a big, like, blockbuster motion picture. It's like...
That's true. He's a creator, writer, right? And artist, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And he's fantastic at all those things. But I'm interested to see if he does a really good job with this, if he's going to be too close to it. And, no one's going to say, hey, man, like, maybe we shouldn't do this thing. He's like, I love Spawn. We're doing this, So I'm excited that it's getting made. I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be good because Spawn just got a weird backstory, and just it's a hard thing to sell, especially if you have the clowns. Like, the clowns are kind of a big part of it, but like, how do you make those things scary and creepy? Do you include them at all? Do you not? I don't know. So
yeah, just don't make them too like comical and zany. I want them to be more of like a terror type monster thing. I don't want it to be like and a little fat tard running around. I don't know. That one just left a bad taste in my mouth. I hope they do a bit more of a gritty take on them.
Yeah.
Not that I want it overly serious. I mean, like Marvel and all those, they're trying to insert that little bit of humor where it's appropriate. That's fine. Just don't do anything too.
Maybe they'll go more like an It route, where they try to make an actually terrifying looking clown.
That could be cool. That could be cool. So we should bring that up later. I saw that trailer lately, and oh my gosh!
I always thought I was
scared.
I was like, nope. It and Venom put together, you got Spawn. There you go. Next big thing I kind of want to talk about, and we're not completely confirmed on this, but it sounds like the guy who was behind Legion, that show that everybody really enjoyed over on FX, will be making a Doctor Doom standalone film. The bad guy from the Fantastic Four. And I'm jazzed about it because I love Doctor Doom, and they keep screwing up Fantastic Four. I don't know if they would be in this film, but I would love for Doctor Doom to get his own movie. Would I love him to be in the MCU more? Yes, of course. I would love that, but they're not going to do that because Fox is like, no, we need all the money ourselves. We're going to ruin all these things even more so. But Joe, for Doctor Doom, yeah, I'm jazzed about the idea. How do you feel about that? Do you like that idea, kind of focusing on a villain, kind of like with Venom?
Well, I mean, he's a really cool character, so of course I'm kind of jazzed about it. I won't lie, the original Fantastic Four movies, I forget his name, it's Julian something.
Yes, that guy. I'm going to look it up right now because he's good.
He was in Nip Tuck and all that, and I think Charmed way back when.
Yeah, he played Cole.
He was really good in Nip Tuck. I actually think he's a really good actor, and I think he portrayed that character really well. It's sad that we won't see him back for this role, but I hope they find someone somewhat comparable, an equivalent or better.
Julian McMullen? McMullen?
Yeah.
I think that's his name.
So, I just think it's a cool character, and if they could ever bring him in the MCU, that'd be neat. Some crossover content, but I don't know what they would do with him, or what kind of storyline they're talking here, but I like him. So.
Yeah, see, the thing for me is you brought up a really good point. I think he might be the strongest part of those old Fantastic Four movies, the first one and then the Rise of the Silver Surfer, which really, if you go back, they aren't as bad as people talk about them or say. The rebooted Fantastic Four is horrible, but I would say that, again, that he is the strongest part. he plays that role really well. And we never got to see the really cool thing about Doctor Doom, and it's that he is this dictator of Latveria, his home, but everybody loves him. He's just like kind of this ruthless dictator, wants to protect his home above all else, and you don't really get to see that. Like, diplomatic immunity is one of his best friends, and he is this guy who wants to protect humanity over anything. So he's got, you know, like a cool Iron Man suit, but he also has magic and stuff like that too. So he's got like a ton of stuff at his disposal, and we never really get to see him reach that zenith. He's mostly just like a one-off villain who does, I guess he does more than that. He shows up, you know, a few times in those movies, you know, as the main antagonist, but we don't get to see him truly at his most powerful, and that's with like the love of all these people. You know, I would love the Fantastic Four to come into Latveria at some point and say like, hey, we're gonna get you guys out of here, Doom's holding you hostage. And like, no, we love Doom. Doom's the best. Like, Doom's given us a perfect peaceful life. Like, we never want for anything. We just, you know, we carry ourselves, and he appreciates that. And that'd be really cool. Plus he can make a bunch of robots called Doombots, which he sends out. Yeah. Dr. Doom's a really fascinating character, and I hope they do him justice, but no in Fox, Joe. It probably won't.
I thought Doctor Doom was more of like a electrical ability, lightning.
So what you're thinking of is back in those old movies, he is like he gets the ship, like when they go through that solar cloud or that whatever, the cosmic cloud. He gets like the ship shielding put into his body, so he can absorb electricity and do all of that. Doom can do so much more. Like, he's so much more than that. He's incredible.
Show it off in those films. So.
Yeah, and also he's like incredibly smart. He's got a lot of things at his disposal, and it's kind of weird. Like, his mom was like a gypsy witch, and he's got like a really strange backstory. But backstory, like, the magic comes into play, and then he is also, you know, he's intelligent, so he knows science, all these things. So yeah, he's just a cool character. Plus, he's got a lot of interesting imperfections about himself and trying to be, he's just a perfectionist, and there's kind of these rumors about like he's got like a scar on it. He had a scar on his face, and that's, he like, you know, molded that the mask to his face like permanently early on in his origins and all this stuff. And he's an interesting guy because he is a villain, but he's become more of an anti-hero more so in the years to come. So yeah, I just think it'd be cool. I'm hoping they get they need to like cast really perfectly. I'm interested to hear who that could be. So I'm excited for that. That sounds really cool. Joe, Captain Marvel. They talked about her a little bit, and I'm really excited about that, as everybody knows. But they did confirm a few things that might be kind of spoilers, so I just want to tell everybody that now. So if you're like, oh no, don't ruin Captain Marvel. First off, it will be set in the 1990s. Second off, it will feature a Nick Fury with 2 eyes, because it's before he lost his eye.
Whoa!
And the biggest thing, Joe, is that the villains will be the Skrulls. Now, the Skrulls are a race of aliens that are like these green chameleon. They kind of look like the Green Goblin, and they can take the shape and form of any person that they see. So there's a chance that there's someone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who might be a Skrull or has been a Skrull the entire time, since the 90s. Isn't that...
It's Mr. Fury.
It's Nick Fury. That might be. It could be him, or at least he got his eye hurt by one of them. But yeah, that would be or you know what we might see, Joe, is like somebody hurts a Skrull in the eye, and then he takes the form of Nick Fury, and then that like Skrull, like he's got the eye patch. He's like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. But is there any character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that you could see besides Fury being like a Skrull potentially?
In America, for sure.
How dare you?
No, that's very doubtful. Who could be in the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, any hero. Okay, while you think about it, I'm going to talk because I have an idea. I have a theory. I'm going to say it's Black Widow. It's Black Widow. This makes a lot of sense because depending on which Skrull it could be, Joe, she could be telepathy or telepathically altering the people she attacks, and that's why they never shoot at her. Because there's so many times when Black Widow's is running pell-mell towards a guy with an assault rifle, and he's like gonna shoot at her, and then he doesn't do it. It's like, doesn't make any sense. So if she was a Skrull, that'd be really good. I think it'd be a fun little twist. And she has been that in the comics as well, so it's not unprecedented.
That would make sense. That's a decent theory. Could even be our our guy, the arrow shooting.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, that guy. Him. Yeah. That's why nobody cares. See, he's under the radar. Nobody really cares about him too much. And then all of a sudden, he's got this big secret. Guess what? I'm a Skrull.
He just comes up one day. He's like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm a Skrull. But he's got a family, which would be kind of, unless they're all Skrulls, which
Perfect disguise.
But like, can they pretend to be children though? I don't know.
It's the ultimate alibi. But I've got a family.
I just don't know who else it could be. Maybe they won't do that at all because there's a storyline called Secret Invasion where the Skrulls take over the place of many of the other superheroes. But I just didn't know who you thought could potentially be one of those Skrulls. You're maybe going Hawkeye. I'm saying Black Widow. I don't know.
I'm still saying Nick Fury.
Probably Fury, though. Fury's a good guess. But I think it's just interesting, Joe, because the Skrulls are usually associated with the Fantastic Four. And as we found out recently in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, it sounds like some of these alien races aren't held completely by one, like by Fox or Disney alone. So like the Skrulls, you're supposed to be like with, like specific Skrulls are supposed to be with Fantastic Four and Fox and all that. But I guess the race as a whole can be used by like Disney and anyone else. Yeah, so Disney's like, excellent. Like they're like, we'll just make new Skrulls. That's totally fine. So I think it's really interesting. It's cool. It's a very cool thing. Plus, you know, it just opens the door to this other big kind of storyline, the Kree-Skrull War, and that's where Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel gets her powers from the Kree aliens. So could be a lot of cool things going down in this Captain Marvel movie, especially a younger Nick Fury, Brie Larson coming in, setting it off with a super-powered lady. I mean, we have Scarlet Witch, but it would just be nice to see. She's like really, she'd be a top-tier Avenger when she shows up. And we'll see why she hasn't been around, because it's been since the 1990s, and if the stuff that's happening in the Avengers is happening in the present day, where has she been for the last, like, 30 years? So I'm sure we'll figure it out, probably imprisoned on a Skrull ship. So, yeah, pretty cool. Hypometer, Joe, by the way, on Captain Marvel. I feel like I should be asking you this for all of these, but you can tell me about this one. 0 to 10, where are you?
Like a I don't know a lot about her, so maybe like a 7, and as I learn more, that could escalate to an 8.5. Is that all right?
Man, it's whatever you want it to be.
Basically, Wonder Woman in the Marvel universe, or more to her.
Well, as far as like kind of power-wise, kind of, but she can also like shoot rays of energy. I know Wonder Woman and people would say like they're very different, but yes, she's very strong. She can fly. She can, she can take a hit. She can give a hit.
Similar comparison, we'll say.
Yes, exactly. Which is good because they need that. Because right now, like I've said before, I think Scarlet Witch may be the only female on the Avengers who could take like a hit from like Thanos, maybe, and survive. And I'm saying the same thing for Hawkeye, though. Like, Black Widow, they can't really fight somebody like him. He'd look at them and like flick them away. So Captain Marvel could potentially go up with these kind of high level opponents, one-on-one potentially, which is cool. That's really cool. I like that a lot. For me, it's probably like 8.5 as hypometer goes. I want to see some more on that thing, man. That movie's going to be crazy. It's going to be cool. A few things about Deathstroke before we get into the big chunk, the meat of the show. But Deathstroke coming back for the next season of Arrow, which I think is a good call, because right now it's been kind of like, the enemies in Arrow have typically been like another guy with a bow and arrow. So I'm excited to have him back. And he also showed up in a Ready Player One trailer along with Harley Quinn. I don't really know anything about Ready Player One. I'm sorry. It's a book that they're turning into a movie about like the virtual world, and you can be whomever you want in the virtual world, and it's just like him.
But it's gonna have DC characters in it, and DC EU is all right with this.
It's probably just cameos and stuff. I think Warner Brothers owns the rights to this thing, but there's like Iron Giant showed up at one point, and there's just like a bunch of other crazy, just everyone from everywhere kind of thing. It's not like Deathstroke is a main character. He like walks by the main player, and I was like, oh, Deathstroke. But of course not. But I'm just excited because I love Deathstroke so much, and Deathstroke needs to be in more things because he's fantastic, and I love him. So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for maybe Arrow to be interesting again. I don't know. We'll see. This last season was fine. Arrow's just fine. But weirdly enough, I watched an interview with the cast, Joe, over on IGN, and there was a huge crowd for like Stephen Amell and Dougal and his sister. Like they were.
Yeah, they have a following.
Yeah, it's huge. There's like across the street and stuff. People were like, "Woo!" They just all they do is they just turn around and kind of wave, and the crowd would go nuts. It's like, what? Like, I'm like, okay, all right, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Joe, we're gonna get into the main segment of the show. We're talking about the two biggest trailers that came out. Personally, two biggest trailers that came out of Comic-Con this year.
Yes.
Let's talk Justice League. Joe, things you like, things you don't like. Go.
I hated all of it. Every bit of it.
Okay, well, that's going to be hard.
Okay, you know, I'm kidding. I joke. I kid. What did I think of it? I always draw a blank when we get to these moments. I've watched it a couple times, a few times even. I don't know. I mean, if it's anything like Wonder Woman, I know I'll be pretty jazzed about it. I think she's going to be heavily featured is kind of the main Batman.
The beginning of the trailer is just like all Wonder Woman is like, okay.
It's going to be that way, almost like Wonder Woman 2 announced.
Yeah.
But then they get more excuse me. They get more into the other characters, but I don't know what to think. I think you know, I'm definitely getting Batman vs Superman vibes here. I think it's going to be. I think it'll be serious, but with some more lighthearted tones incorporated.
Yes,
it'll be good.
Yeah, which we were talking about this beforehand too, but a lot of the rumors kind of that the Joss Whedon influence, like there's kind of more little jokes here and there.
Yeah, so I think it'll be very intense, though, probably more so than Batman vs Superman. I mean, I think we can all argue that the most intense moment is the Doomsday moment. I mean, the fight between Batman and Superman, that's all something, but yeah, I really do think it's going to have more intensity to it and maybe even a little quicker paced.
You know, I would say, Joe, along with that comment about the most intense moment, another one that springs to mind is that kind of that dream sequence about the future with Superman kind of being like Injustice, basically, where like Batman gets captured and he's killing people and Superman comes in and he's just like, he's just going to like burn him. And I wonder if there'll be more of that kind of thing, you know, as far as like, wow, this is really next level-y type of like really stressful moments for everybody. I don't know. There seems like they've got to cram in a lot, though, to this movie. There's a lot they have to do. Like, yeah,
but I really get a vibe from it that it's, you know, it's like broader reaching. Like, I know Doomsday is a big deal and all that, and, you know, it could end the world, whatever, but you don't really get that feeling from that film.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go more for that. You know, this could possibly be the end of humankind as we know it, sort of a deal.
Yeah.
And from the trailer, it almost seems like they don't stand a chance against this person. Maybe against the thugs that he has and stuff, but him himself, I don't know. And by him, I mean
Steppenwolf.
Yes.
So
Steppenwolf is the uncle of Darkseid?
I believe that's how it normally goes. Yeah, which I didn't know that before they teased him in Batman vs Superman extended cut or whatever. I was like, what? Or is that the regular cut? I don't even remember. Whatever it was. But yeah, and I think the only person on the league right now who's out of the current 5 that we've kind of talked about, I think Wonder Woman might be, maybe Aquaman might be the only ones who could actually go toe-to-toe with him by themselves. Like, they really would need to do that as a group. Plus, there's a ton of parademons they have to deal with as well, as you kind of see in this trailer.
Yeah, so the other 4 are going to deal with that, while Wonder Woman, the God Killer, takes care of Steppenwolf, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's definitely a good chance that she will be featured even more heavily, and I think it's smart just as far as just logistically, like I think Batman would say like, hey, you know, Diana, we talked about this. You might be the only person. I'm not going to send in, like, Flash might be kind of like running around trying to screw him up, but trip him up. But that's not going to help. Cyborg maybe could take Baby one hit, but then he'd be knocked out. Like, it's not a lot of people on the team right now who could, you know, take that, fight him.
It's sorry to say, but I mean, you know, in the Wonder Woman movie, not even my favorite part, but when she took out
spoiler alert
Ares.
for Wonder Woman. Yeah, Ares.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Rewind. If you don't want a spoiler to Wonder Woman, don't listen past this point. All right.
Too late.
So when she takes out Ares, I mean, think about it. Ares, I mean, they literally went into Greek mythology. I mean, where does he rank amongst some of these big bads in the DC universe, you know? I mean, literally a god, and she kills him, defeats him. Where does he compare to somebody like Steppenwolf, you know?
I don't know. I would think they're probably around the same. Steppenwolf might be a little bit more. And this is a hard comparison to draw because they're different universes, but it seems like from what we're seeing in like Thor Ragnarok, it seems that the gods or demigods aren't that when you get into space, it's like it's a next tier. It's a whole different ball game. Like you're fighting things that are way more powerful than you're used to, even in your kind of native realm. So maybe that's something that the DCEU is also kind of going for. But I think she'll definitely be a match for him. Obviously not like a perfect, you know, she won't be able to just best him by herself because it's like, why have the movie then? Because he'll have his parademons and all this other stuff too. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I've got some predictions here. I'm going to save them up because I think we're going to do a little featurette on that. But
yeah, we definitely. But yeah, Trailer Master coming soon.
Yeah, I have high hopes for this one. I won't lie. I love the weight of the situations and the imagery itself is really well done. The cinematics, I like the CG. You know, I can't even pick out any CG to be honest. I mean, my brain knows what's real and what's not, but immersing myself and watching it, I'm like, oh man, this looks amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I like the feel of some of the impactful moments. Like I like, and I mean that quite literally, impact.
Okay.
Like when Steppenwolf comes to, I mean, they go back to the island where Wonder Woman in the lived.
Themyscira.
Themyscira, there you go. She and Steppenwolf basically arrives at that point in the tower where they have those artifacts, and one of the artifacts looks like something odd. I don't know.
Like a mother box?
Yeah, something like that. Can you fill in on that?
Yeah, well, it sounds like in this world there are at least 2 mother boxes on Earth, maybe more, but there's like one for sure at Themyscira and one in Atlantis, and that's probably why he's drawn to those places. So maybe that's why. And then also Cyborg is like part mother box because of like his dad's experiments on him after he tried to save his life. So that's maybe why he went to Themyscira.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
anywho, well, it seems to be that's the first point that we are introduced to Steppenwolf. He arrives there to take that, and then obviously then they show Aquaman under the water, and he's there at that point. Yeah. I feel like there's going to be quite a bit of setup time to that, though. You know, because I think they're going to go through the whole Bruce Wayne tracking down the rest of the Inhumans. So
the Inhumans? You mean just like the other metas or whatnot?
Oh yeah, Inhumans is like some sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah,
I think so.
That's good. I like humans. Apologies,
dude. Close enough, man. Yeah.
So anywho, I think there's going to be a bit of I wouldn't call it slow pace, but I would call it good developmental time for the group. So excited for that. I think there's an importance there in how they come together, you know, and the actions that lead to them actually grouping up. And it's important, you know, you have to have that developmental point to know. Otherwise, it's like, okay, how'd they just like, oh, okay, they're all together. You know, Bruce Wayne calls them up. He's like, hey, I know I don't know you, but I need your help. The world depends on it. You know, it can't be something like that. It's got to be something a little more. And what's the word?
Meaningful, dramatic.
Yeah, exactly. Meaningful, dramatic, all the above. So, escaped me this evening, but
That's okay.
so yeah, some people, and they allude to that more in the first trailer when he's going after Aquaman and when he's talking with the Flash and all that. But some people be like, "Oh, slow moving and boring," but to me, I'm like, "Oh, that's what makes for a great story is the intricate moments that lead up to this culmination of a superpowered entity, a group of, the best of the best, the A team." So I really value that. And I think it's and Marvel does a bit of the same too. They do a good job of developing their groups, but we're looking at DC here. But
yeah,
I value that, and I feel like it's a more adult approach as to something quick and together, but not as tactful. You know what I mean? I kind of appreciate those character developments and interactions that lead up to something bigger and greater, and that's what ultimately helps give you the goosebumps when they show that first scene of all of them in their gear and they're like ready to take it on. You're like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I think it adds a sense of weight and gravity to that situation when that time comes. So yeah, not to spend all night on that, but favorite part of the trailer, the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell me about that humor, Joe. You said you liked it.
Oh, what, the humor?
Yeah, the ending part where he's Tell us about Commissioner Gordon.
Before the end. That's not the end.
Wait,
but
sorry.
Commissioner Gordon moment where the 5 of them, the main 5 that are featured in the film, when they are up on the roof where the bat symbol, they're talking to Commissioner Gordon. He's like, "How many of you are there?" Bruce is like, "Not enough." And then he turns around to say something, and they're all gone except for the Flash. And he's like, "Whoa!" they just disappeared.
Yeah. Oh, that's not rude.
Yeah, that's rude.
I do.
Gone.
Yeah, I do like how he says at one point, he's like, "I'm not ready for this kind of fight." He's like, "I'm used to just pushing people down and running away."
Pansy.
Yeah. But you're talking about the potential Superman tease at the very end.
That's what that was?
Could have been anybody. It could be Iron Man.
It could be anybody. We don't know.
Supergirl, man.
It could be Lex Luthor.
Red Robin. Oh my God, his red hair. Oh my gosh, I'd be so pissed.
It could be. It could be the Green Lantern.
Unless he's maybe Atrocitus.
Wait, but he's not a good guy.
No, he's like, I'm here for rage. And Alfred's like, I knew you were gonna Batman. Or he told me you were gonna go. It's like, oh, what?
And where does Atrocitus rank? He's got kind of a Steppenwolf vibe to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with the DC stuff as far as like power rankings go, but I would imagine he's pretty strong, But then you get to like the God level and like all that stuff gets nuts. But Hypometer, Joe, Justice League, tell me, where are you? 0 to 10.
I'll tell you in just a second. So when they tease that Superman thing at the end, and the glass of whiskey on the table is got the little Jurassic Park vibrate.
Yeah, what the heck was up with that?
I don't care.
I thought they summoned a T-Rex.
It's him. Don't move. His eyesight's based on movement. I
hope someone cuts that with the T-Rex at the end of that sequence in Jurassic Park where it just roars. And he's like, Bruce told me you're coming. It's like,
no, Bruce, they said you would come. Let's hope you're not too late. The Jurassic Park banner falls.
10 out of 10.
We need more teeth.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I love about these trailers, Jimmy, is that we know Superman is a big he's going to be a player. He's going to be a factor. We know he's not dead. He's freaking Superman. He can't just be gone. They can't wipe him from the DCEU. We know, but I like how they're still going with it and they're keeping him behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Play on their behalf. I don't want to see one of these trailers where all of a sudden you see Superman floating there in his black suit, like, I'm here to,
Yeah.
help clean this shit up, right?
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want him behind the curtain. I love that little tease at the end. Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
I say don't show him at all.
Coincidentally, if we do a trailer master, Jimmy, one of my predictions is associated with that.
Oh, really?
So,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you would talk about Superman in a prediction.
Yeah. Who would have thunk, huh? But no, I just I like that they're showing a lot, but they're also still, part of me was surprised they showed so much off for Steppenwolf himself, to be honest.
Sure. Well, he's kind of obscured a little bit. Like, you don't really get a super great look at him.
Yeah, it's not like they do a still shot of him standing on some fiery rock or anything. But...
Well, they learned from Doomsday, because remember that one trailer that dropped, and he runs down and right into frame, and you can see his whole face and body, and you're like, oh, that's Doomsday. It's like,
yeah. But I think they're doing a good job with this one. And, they keep it kind of quick and flashy, so you can't really see Doomsday in his glory. But if you go back and still frame it or whatever, if you're one of those people that likes to spoil a film for yourself, go ahead. Those are people that want to watch the world burn. But I'm really, really excited. I think my hypeometer is pretty high for this one. I know that they're doing reshoots and stuff, and there's a lot of news lately about Ben Affleck says he's out for Batman, he's over it, and he doesn't want to even be Batman anymore. Well, I'm pretty sure at Comic-Con and even before that, there was some sort of news release where he confirmed he loves playing Batman and is all in. So.
Yeah, well, he kind of almost has to say that, though, even if he isn't. Because, he can't go to Comic-Con and be on a panel for the Justice League and be like, yeah, I'm excited to not be Batman after my contract is up. Because, honestly, I don't care. Yeah. People would, rush the stage. Be like,
I'm going to kill Batman.
Exactly. People would be running at him.
The first rock.
I hope he likes it, though. I honestly do. I really hope he loves it, because if they want to make a trilogy, how do you do a Batman-less universe?
Don't.
Yeah.
And would you recast him and just throw a wrench in the whole thing? It'd be like taking freaking Robert Downey Jr. and he doesn't want to do it anymore and throw somebody else in who looks a little bit like him and call it good, like he never left. And
yeah, after Iron Man 2.
Really throw a wrench in. Yeah, it would really throw a wrench into the whole thing. And part of me hopes that Ben has enough invested into that character that he really cares about it. And I think, contrary to some of the rumors and stuff, I think he does.
Yeah,
I think he knows what he's doing is a big deal and great for him. And let's face it, he was kind of one of those stars that kind of he was real popular for a while and had a major drop off, and then really brought his career back from almost retirement. I mean, he really brought it back to directing his own movies that did really well, did a good job on them. Now he's playing just a top tier character that's beloved by millions upon millions. So I hope he really garners that sense and realizes the position he's in. So
yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind that he's a smart gentleman, but we'll see. I just I heard some talk on that, and then I saw some alternative articles saying the opposite.
Yeah,
well, I'm documented from Ben himself.
I'm hoping that's the case, because it's been there rumors that maybe you have your Nightwing take over, you have a Nightwing type character, and then maybe Ben Affleck as Batman shows up once in a while for a big Justice League type thing, but for the rest of it he's just kind of gone. So I don't know.
Sure,
it's tough. Plus,
and they allude in this movie that he's been kind of out of the picture for a while. Nobody's seen the Bat for a long time, sort of a deal.
Yeah,
so I think that's because he's too busy tracking down his metahumans, but.
Yeah, he's like, I'm busy trying to figure out this problem that's coming that no one understands except for me and this God killer over here. I'm nervous. I hope it's good. I hope the Batman trilogy gets off and Ben sticks around, because that would be great. Plus, he's contractually obligated, I think, for at least the Batman, the first one. So we'll see where that goes. And after seeing War for the Planet of the Apes, Matt Reeves, that is the name of that director. He's very good, so he's a very talented guy, and he's got a lot of ideas about where that trilogy is going to go now. That might mean Deathstroke is gone, which makes me sad. But As far as this movie for me, if Joe's at, what did you say, Joe? You're at like a 9 out of 10, like a 90 degrees.
Right now I'm feeling like a simmering 9.5, pal.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry, but it gets me. This stuff gets my goat. I feel good about it, and like I said, I love some of these aspects of keeping Superman behind the curtain, and I have some bold predictions about him making his return at the end, and it's really going to play into the story, though. I think they alluded in the trailer to the fact that they're all dealing with some, I don't want to say inner demons, but self-doubt and that sort of thing, and it's holding them back. So I think Superman's going to have a part to play there.
For sure.
So yeah, I get pretty excited about it. They're 9.5 easy for me. I think a lot of people are drawn back by the Ben Affleck stuff that I went into, and then I was going to bring up one other note is the I think there's rumors of some reshoots and that sort of thing. I think with I'm forgetting his name right now, the guy who had to step out.
Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder had to step out, and then Joss Whedon coming in. I think that's only better for this film. I don't really have too many concerns about it. Yeah, they might reshoot some things, but
they always do for movies like this. They always do.
Yeah, they do. You might not hear about it on other films. For some reason, you're hearing about it here. Maybe that's because there's a lot of hype and curiosity into it, but or somebody's a freaking mole. But anywho, Joss Whedon's proven himself. I think if they reshoot some stuff, I think he's really going to be thorough and make sure it fits in. Because let's face it, Wonder Woman's been their only standout success thus far. They really got to hit it home with this one, and they got to be attentive to every detail and get this thing pinned down. So, doing the reshoots is only better for the film. I think that means that they're being attentive to details and trying to smooth things out so it all makes sense, and that the scenes really get that audience engaged. So 9.5, pal. Simmering over here, getting a little hot under the collar.
Well, for me, I'm going to give it a 75 degrees on a decent summer day, like a nice breeze. I'm excited. I'll tell you why. I'm excited about it, Joe. I want this to be good. I was talking with a friend today, and I was saying to him, what would happen to the MCU if the Avengers wasn't good? Like, the MCU might not exist. And that's the same thing I'm worried about the Justice League. Like, if people aren't excited about it, they're going to say there's going to be a big change. They're going to say, like, all right, Wonder Woman worked. What are we going to do to make all this stuff better? And I'm worried that Zack Snyder, even though showing that he definitely knows how to work with comic book adaptations sometimes, that his mark on this movie is going to be something that DC is trying to wash away for a long time. Like they're going to be like, hey, Joss, like you should come in and give us a few tips. Like we want to change it up because people seem to like that kind of thing. I'm not saying it should be the same as the MCU, but the fact that the MCU had to build up to a moment like the Avengers where you're talking about these dramatic moments where it's like, oh, they're all here together. Like when they do that pan around shot in Avengers, it is earned, baby. Like we had so many movies. We had a few movies, like 3 or 4 before that to get to that point. This is just true. Like, you're like Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg. They're going to origin story in this movie. Like, it's going to be like, so like Aquaman, where are you from? Like Cyborg, what are you about? Like Flash, how do it? It's like, oh my gosh, this movie is going to be bloated. And I think because they didn't do standalones beforehand, that's going to be a criticism. And I'm seeing a lot of that in this trailer, especially if you can show me 4 full minutes of new stuff. And it's still like they're thinking it's not that. We're not showing you that much. It's like, what? How much more is there? Like, that's incredible. Like, I love a 4-hour movie, Be fine.
Yeah, I mean, do we know how long this thing will be? I'm guessing it's close to 3 hours. I guess it's
probably
going to be a bit of a barn burner. I think you're going to want the large soda for this one. So
totally.
And don't share your popcorn because you're going to need it. You'll be hungry at the end. But anywho, I agree with you, Jimmy. And you're right. Avengers started out at a slow simmer and eventually worked up to that big boil, which is the Avengers film. So DC, they might have taken the wrong approach, but they probably thought if we do all these standalones to build up to the big stuff, we just can't compete because Avengers and MCU, they're already ahead of us, and people are going to be like, well, why go to that when we can get the big clan over here? We've already, it was the right way to approach it, but from DC DC's perspective, I don't know that they can take that kind of time and try and compete with the standalones. But, as we saw with Wonder Woman, it worked out just fine.
Yeah.
So,
but she was by herself, and I just, it seems like a shotgun approach, and I get it because they want to get people. Maybe they're not as concerned with the regular movie going audience, that they've kind of said, hey, a lot of the people are going to see this movie know Aquaman, they know Cyborg, maybe they know Flash for sure because of the TV show. Why should we worry about that origin? We'll worry about that in his film, which may never get made, or whatever the heck's going on with that. But maybe they're just saying like, or thinking, people will come into this movie and we'll explain all of them, so that way people don't say, do I have to see like Aquaman first before I see Justice? Be like, no, it's just he's in there. This is like the beginning. Oh, it's like, oh, okay. So I can see where maybe that's the thought, but I'm nervous that it's going to be kind of over bloated. And then also you said the CGI, you probably didn't notice it. Cyborg is the only thing that I'm slightly nervous about. Every time he talks, I think there's something a little off.
Who, Aquaman?
Cyborg.
Oh, Cyborg, yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, of all of them, the CG on him is probably the toughest to do. And I almost feel like he's slightly overdone, but then, I look at other illustrations and takes on the character, and he's pretty, I'd say he's somewhat accurate, to the.
Oh yeah, he looks the part. It's just that like it's hard to imagine like having 75% of a face be CG and then like 25 or a third of it being like the human, like the flesh, like trying to make that with the talking and everything look really good. I might be off on the ratios there, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Part of me was worried that Aquaman would be too corny.
That's the other thing I'm worried about too. I still am worried about that.
But as I see a little more here and there, I start to think, he might be a little bro.
He's a lot of bro.
But I kind of expect that of him. I mean, I think he's going to be like that testosterone-fueled, badass kind of bro,
Sure.
But I think that I'm really hoping that they and don't just portray him in that light. I hope that they provide some depth to him. Yeah. And I know when Bruce Wayne finds him, I think there might be a little bit of what's the word? There might be some more
hesitation.
No, I think when he finds him, his character portrayal and the way he handles himself and interacts is going to be a little more
regal.
Correct. Regal. Yeah. Dang.
What can I say?
A good word. It's a good word. Jimmy, the vocabulary extraordinaire.
Thank you.
I just, but then I think they're going to use him as some of their more lighthearted moments because he is such a bro. But I also want them to give him his due and make sure he's treated in a more serious light as well. So
yeah, and maybe he'll have a cool character arc throughout this film, and then his own films ascending to the throne of Atlantis, like being the king. Because the one I'm more familiar with is like he's like a Dr. Doom, and that he's like the only thing that matters to me is protecting Atlantis. Because right now, a guy who's like sitting on the Batmobile going yeah or whatever, and he's just all these little kind of quips. I'm like, are you like a king? Like you don't seem like a king. So maybe he's not at that point, and he's gonna get to that point.
Yeah, and I had mentioned before how I like the impactful moments, and I meant quite literally. And I think I only got into the Steppenwolf intro where he arrives and just slams down to the ground, with kind of a magnificent intro. I also like Aquaman where he like lands on top of that. What do they call them again? Parademons.
Parademon, yeah.
Lands on it and just like slams it down through a building and then comes walking out the front door like. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, it's really cool for sure. Yeah,
and well done, and I like that they're gonna really show off how powerful Aquaman can be beyond the whole. He can just talk to fish and blow bubbles, Yeah,
Aquaman's cool. He's a really cool character.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have no doubt in my mind he'll be cool. I just hope they treat his character in the right way and make him feel regal, as Jimmy put it.
Yes, I hope so too. Well, I think we've done that trailer to death, but definitely check that trailer out. We have a link for it down below, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. But we're also going to talk about this next trailer, which should also be linked down below, for Thor Ragnarok. Now, Joe, I usually let you take the point on some of these things, but not this time, because I'm taking the point. All right, first off, they maybe showed a little too much. Okay, spoilers if you don't want to like Thor Ragnarok. They show a lot, but all of it is like insanity. Like it's almost like you took a bunch of like colors, like a bunch of colors, and put it in a paint bucket. Like you got your Hulk green and your Thor reds and blues and your Loki yellows and greens, and you put it all together and kind of like some Guardian stuff in there, and you just kind of swirled it about, and it's just like this kaleidoscope of all this nuts stuff happening with Hela, and you got Scourge and this Fenris wolf or Fenrir. It's like, oh, man, like there's so much going on in this trailer. And even though I think I preferred the first one because it had a perfect song, the immigrant song, it fit so well and they didn't show too much. Even though this one shows too much, I still really enjoyed it. And I'm so excited about this movie. Like I'm at a 9 or 9.5 as far as like hypometer or 90 degrees. It's sweltering, really. It's very hot. It's midday sun. I'm standing at high noon and it's just pointing down on me. And I'm like, ah. Like if I fell on the tar, the blacktop, I'd adhere to it quickly. Man, it's very 80s, and a lot of people have been complaining it's too Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, that's what space is going to be like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guardians set that up, and Thor is following suit. Yes, the font and some of the stuff they've chosen also feels 80s too. 80s seems to be very hot right now. Stranger Things, stuff like that. But I don't really mind it, and I'm excited. I still have a lot of questions about this movie, about like how it's all going to go down. And I really enjoy watching this trailer. Also, you know, Joe probably mentioned it, but Hulk and also Bruce Banner, the moments between the like Mark Ruffalo and Chris Hemsworth, the comedy, which this director, I forget his name, but he was saying that that's something that they've underplayed is Chris Hemsworth, his comedic timing. And there's a lot of good little jokes in here. I hope they haven't ruined the best ones, but there's just like, especially this interchange between, you know, Thor and an actual speaking Hulk that is just so perfectly on point for two guys who are like trying to say like, I'm better than you, you know, you better than me. Like, it's just so, oh, man, I really can't wait. This is up my alley. Like, this is what I'm like the most excited about. Like, that's incredible. But anyway, Joe, tell me what you think about it. What do you like? What don't you like?
Well, in the past, the Thor movies and being based on or having, you know, more involvement from I can't even think of the name of his.
Oh, you're talking like Asgard, mythological stuff.
Yeah. You know, those past movies never really did much for me. This one seems to be a little more, how do you say, and tied to the overall universe is in the MCU.
Definitely.
Which I prefer. So that gives me higher hopes and more interest. I feel like the moments they're toting, although they may seem big and like a big deal or a big feature of the movie, I feel like they're only going to be small fragments in the overall film.
That's what I'm hoping. Me too.
Yeah. I'm hoping. That fight between Thor and Hulk in the arena where he's like, he's a friend from work.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that that's not going to be, you know, it'll be a big moment, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to be dwelled on. It's not going to be a long drawn out thing. Because there's bigger things to focus on here. So I think that the scene will shift very quickly.
Yes. I don't think it'll last long.
Yeah. Although they know that it's a good marketing piece to generate interest.
For sure. Yeah, that first trailer ends on that where he's gonna like uppercut him and you're like,
yeah. So you know, the whole 80s thing, I'm kind of like, whatever, you know. I also got weird vibes from Doctor Strange. I didn't really like that movie all that much. It fell a little flat for me, and I'm not into the mystical stuff. Doesn't do it quite as much for me. I'm much more of an Iron Man type.
Sure. I get that.
So, yeah, I prefer the more science-based type things.
Sure.
You know, when it comes to my villains, maybe not as much, but when I want to hone in on somebody and really kind of become attached to a character, I want them to be a little more reality based, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. I get that. Give me a
Yeah.
hypometer, man. Where are you? Degrees, maybe.
Hypometer, I mean, I know it's going to be good. I'm pretty pumped for it. I like the Hulk being featured in there because he's that unpredictable, smash everything in his path, and I want to see how he does, especially against the giant fire demon.
Yeah, Surtur, dude. Finally, I knew he was coming. I was like, they got to do Surtur.
Yeah, so how does that guy... I'm assuming that Hela summons him somehow, right?
Potentially in this one, maybe.
I mean, how does he rank?
He's high. He is high up there. He's very high up there.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. Giant fire demon should rank high in a comic universe. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that goes. So they say he has a power of like 33,000 burning suns or something like that. I think that is ultimate big bad at the end. I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think he'll have a good impact in the film. I will not have my hypometer burn as hot as Surtur.
Nice, dude.
I'll give this one a strong 8.5 to a 9. I'll give her a good 9. It's different than Justice League, or even Avengers. It's different. It is a little more Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm not a monster fan of, but I do appreciate them. I think they're good, but I'd say strong 8.5 to 9. Probably leaning towards the latter 9.
Fair enough. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's all pretty much the biggest stuff that came out of Comic-Con that we're going to talk about this time around. If you guys have any comments on those things, what was the thing that you loved the most, let us know down below or tweet at us at any time. But now, Joe, before we get into the next segment of the show, we must take a moment and salute our commander, Jonathan Larson, our $100 patron. We appreciate you, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Jonathan, you're the man, pal.
There you go. I was like, you gotta say something so I could show up. Ha! Thank you. And as Jonathan's quote likes to say, what was it? Their fate concerns me. Yours does not. So
good on you.
Yeah, what a good guy. But Joe, now it's time to move into the next segment of the show where we are killing time, but we like to call it
Time Killers.
That's right. It's time for Time Killers, the games we've been watching, the TV shows we've been viewing, the movies we've been... Wait, did I say movies we've been viewing? TV shows, video games, all those things. We love it. Joe, you saw a movie.
The cookbooks.
Cookbooks we've been reading. The cookbooks. Joe, which movie did you see? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I saw Dunkirk over the weekend. And let's just say for the ultimate history buff, it's probably a smorgasbord. For me, it was more of
That's really funny.
An intense mood killer.
Oh.
And let me expand on that. So me and Jimmy and I are a good buddy, Drew. Me and him were hanging out over the weekend. Or him and I. What's the problem? I always get that confused. Him and I? Me and him?
You would say you would refer to him first because that's proper. So if I were to say, I would say Drew and I were hanging out. So you'd say Joe or Drew and I.
So Drew and I went to kill some time on Friday night because we were going to a motocross race on Saturday. And, we just wanted to kill some time before we had to hit the hay. So we're like, let's go catch a movie, right? Went there with every intent of seeing Spider-Man because him and I, shame on us, have not seen it yet.
You're killing me, yeah.
But we showed up there, and keep this in mind, it's Spider-Man Homecoming's third weekend in theaters. It was sold out. Sold out probably a good 15, 20 minutes before we even got there, and we got there 15 minutes early. Never did I think it would be sold out, but it was. So we're like, okay, do we see Wonder Woman for the second time? I was all on board, but we were going to see Baby Driver, but that was an hour later. We would have had to wait. And then Then there were a couple others that were just kind of whatever. So we ended up. What was that other one? It's that movie, space movie with the guy who played Green Goblin. And
Valerian.
Yeah, people are really saying good things about that, but I'm sorry, just not my thing.
I've heard bad things.
Really?
Yeah,
I saw some critical acclaim, but maybe that's just them toting it themselves and making crap up. But anywho, we opted out of that one, and we're like, all right, Dunkirk, good war movie. All right, so we went and saw that. We get in there, nice reclining seats. We chill, drinking our drink. All of a sudden, the movie starts up. Bang, 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 bang. The movie theater the sound system. I don't know if like each movie comes with a recommendation. Please set your volume in the theater to this level. But it was so loud. Every gunshot felt like somebody just slung their gun up over my shoulder and pulled the trigger. I kid you not. It was like right in my ear.
You're like, I'm dying and bleeding my ears.
You and I are looking at each other, and every time they shoot, we do a little jump. And so basically the premise is Dunkirk is like some village in France, I believe, off the coast of France across the English Channel from Great Britain.
Okay.
And the Germans have enclosed on them and are taking over the town, and they're all on the shoreline of the English Channel and on the pier where there's a wall where they keep bringing ships in to try and take the soldiers off the land back to Great Britain, because they need to gear up to defend the island of Great Britain from the impending raid. So they're being pushed back. They're all waiting on shore in lines. German planes keep coming in and just dive bombing them and killing a bunch of them, kind of off and on. There's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 focal point characters. Okay. And I don't want to overplay that because they're not really focal points. They're just a means to get a camera in that or to show the happenings. They had to focus on something, so they picked some randos.
Sure.
There's not a lot of dialogue or speech except for some civilians on a boat, because they eventually call in. It would be called they call upon civilians to take their own boats and go retrieve the soldiers from France, and so a lot of it is like this little weekend Voyager boat where you go out and have a picnic on the ocean and go back to port. But a lot of it is that, and then journeying over and picking up sailors that have fallen in the water from boats that have been bombed and taken out.
Sure.
And there's some dramatic happenings just on that little particular boat. And then there's just this one soldier that's trying to figure out how to get off of France back home. Kind of hone in on how he goes from this to that to this to that. He's eventually on a boat. He's about to get off. Then the boat gets bombed. He escapes out one of the hatches as everybody's drowning.
Full spoilers, by the way, for anyone who wants to see this.
Yeah, but it's like I can't do it justice or explain it. It's more about it's all about how they got these soldiers out of Dunkirk and back to Great Britain, and there's really no character. You don't latch onto a character per se.
Yeah.
There's no real development. You don't know anything about them, just that they're a soldier trying to escape, and they really only focus on one.
Yeah, is it R-rated, by the way?
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering because I was like, I don't know, I forgot if it was, or I was like, it probably should be, right? If it's a war film like that.
Yeah, I mean, you see some people get shot, but
I don't
think it's more PG-13.
Well, maybe it is PG-13 then.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of slight bit of gore, but not really.
Sure. Is there anything, you haven't said anything, is there a good thing about this film? Because right now it sounds like you're not, and it's totally fine if you aren't keen on it.
really hard to describe. It's almost like a documentary, or like somebody put a GoPro over the shoulder of this guy, and he just goes
Gotcha.
through the motions. And the only time you really get more like in-depth immersion into the characters is like they have the I forget what they call the British planes, like three of them in a small squadron, and they're going to try and defend the boats that are trying to evacuate the soldiers.
Yeah.
Um, Winston Churchill wants 30,000 soldiers, and there's 400,000 in this town or on this beach waiting to be evacuated. So they've sent 3 planes over there to take out the bombers and stuff to keep them from blowing up the ships that are leaving. And it's really cool. Probably the best part of the whole movie is the dogfighting. I really think I don't know how they do that, but it was legit and real looking. Like
I think they
were
actually did
literally
it.
flying planes.
Yeah.
Planes from that era that still fly.
Or they made new ones. I was hearing about that like a little bit, so that they actually did like the dogfights for real, and I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
It's totally realistic. Like you could, if you told me it was CG, I'd be like, no freaking way.
Yeah.
Every time they shot the freaking guns on the planes, it was like right in my ears again. And it was really loud. And like every time they would get a couple bullets penetrating their aircraft shell, it'd be like that bullet sound hitting tin.
Oh.
And it was like, oh my god. But I almost feel like the volume is up for a reason, to like elevate that intensity of the film.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, there's a lot of people that die in this movie, and that's where I say it's a little bit of a mood killer. They basically kind of delve into the happenings and what happened during that particular confrontation there, and it's almost a little tough to watch, but yeah. And Tom Hardy is in this. He's one of the pilots, and at the end he runs out of fuel. He turns around when he's low. Instead of going home, he turns around to defend his ship and take out a German bomber, and takes it out. And then he has no choice but to go back to shore, where the soldiers are waiting to be evacuated, knowing that he might not get off the island or get off the land. And he's floating with no fuel. Reserve tank is empty, main tank is empty, and he's literally just cruising. It's a very like quiet, serene moment. And then there's a Navy captain standing on the pier waiting for the next ship to come in to evacuate, and he's kind of like going down with the ship, kind of waiting. And all of a sudden he hears something. He looks up, and there's another bomber coming in to try and take out the pier so they can't evacuate. And next thing you know, I think he looks down or something. So he looks away, and the next thing you know, is crashing, because as Tom Hardy in that plane is floating across the beach, the bomber didn't see him or something, and he just shot him. And he came down, and as does over all the soldiers just floating. They're all cheering and stuff, and it's kind of a goosebump moment. It's really cool. And he lands, and everybody gets evacuated, and he gets captured as a prisoner of war. But I think what they said is out of the 400,000, they evacuated almost 300,000 and only expected to get 30 of them. And it's a real big, impactful moment when all the private civilian boats show up, and fishing boats and stuff, and they beach them, and they get all the soldiers loaded up and out. And it's kind of a really cool, almost awe-inspiring moment. But this isn't your summer blockbuster. It's not Spider-Man. It's not your superhero movie. It's not a Jurassic Park. It's nothing like that. It's more. It's a very adult movie. There were kids in there, and I heard them talking on the way out, and they were obsessed with the dog fighting. That's how well done it was, that it captured the attention of like 10-year-old kids. But there's no dialogue. There's no real enthrallment with the film.
Sure.
But Drew and I both walked out and kind of looked at each other, and we're like, I don't regret seeing it, and I can really appreciate it. But it's not like, I didn't go out of my way to see that, and I probably wouldn't have.
I looked it up. It's PG-13,
really well
just so you know. But I want to know if you had to give it a score, Joe. Give me a score.
For the outright quality of it and how well done it was, I'll give it a good 8.5.
Okay.
I'll be dead honest with you. It's just not quite my thing. I think a lot of people appreciate, and probably you're on this level with me as well, appreciate that character attachment and development. Whereas in here, you only have kind of this random guy that they show you in the beginning and all throughout and how he gets out of there. But there's no, like, in-depth background to him. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
And same with basically all the other characters. There's no – it's much more of a historical type film. It really is. But yeah, 8.5 because it's really well done. And if I was more of a history buff and was really into it, I probably would, and maybe more biased, I would probably score it, pretty much perfect because there really is nothing wrong with it. It's just not quite my thing. And I know people love it. And there wasn't one person that walked out of there and said it was bad or was saying, oh, I thought it'd be a little cooler than that. It's not like a Saving Private Ryan. It's not a Black Hawk Down. It's not a what was that Brad Pitt tank battalion movie? It's
Fury.
It's not Fury. It's not quite like that, but to it and impact, and it's a bit of a mood killer. It depresses you. It really kind of shows you what war can be. So, yeah. But yeah,
cool. Nice.
That's about all I can really say about it.
That's all right. Well, there's one thing that we have in common as far as Timekillers go more recently, and that's when we both played the Destiny 2 open beta this past weekend. You got to play a little bit of it. I played a little bit more of it. I made a video about it that you can check out right over here. But if you played the first one, you're going to like this one. If you want to jump in, give it a shot at one of these beta weekends, I'd suggest it. Gunplay is really fun, but it's not something drastically different from the first game. So if you go and you're like, they're changing it all, it's like, no, they're not. They're just fixing a few things, adding some things, hopefully. But yeah, I had a fun time with it. I thought it was really good. I had a lot of connection issues. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person in the world to have connection issues with this game. But
I won't lie, I didn't have a single problem, and I played probably a good 5-6 hours worth.
I'm gonna blame Destiny. Why would it be me? It's always me. I don't know why. But I play other online games.
Your internet.
No, man, I play other online games, and I really don't have problems. Yeah, Joe, did
you get booted from Overwatch now and again, and GTA is definitely not your friend.
Yeah, get Grand Theft Auto, get out of here. I'm just too good at Overwatch, Joe, so they kick me out. They're like, he's doing too well for his team. Gotta get that guy out of here. But Joe, for someone
why did we put him in here? His rank is much too high.
For someone who's never played Destiny really before, did you enjoy this little time with the game?
Yeah, all it really seems to be to me is a replacement for Halo 5.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, but that's kind of the vibe I get. And, as they add more maps and stuff, I think I'll enjoy it more. And as I get more weapons and gear, I'll probably appreciate it a bit more. Because it in that aspect, the customization and some of those things and the weaponry kind of boosted a little above Halo for me, I think. And also the control and the fluidness of the movement, the gameplay has a much better feeling to me than Halo. I appreciate it a bit more. It's a little quicker and more fluid. It's still not like Call of Duty Twitch style.
Yeah, no.
I'll tell you this right now. Typical first-person shooter, I go in and I'm like, oh my God, I need to turn the intensity up. And
every game we play, it's like, I gotta turn the sensitivity up. It's not high enough.
Yeah. So like literally I went as high as it would go. I went all the way to 10, and I still felt like I could have probably almost doubled that sensitivity. Because I like to look side to side, because I'm constantly like, okay, I'm walking to point B. I know there's a hallway here, but I also want to be checking down in that corner. I want to be able to do this. You know what I mean? And instead I'm doing this.
High sensitivity does not a good player make, Joe, as I've proven many times. You can still be good with lower sensitivity. I can prove it to you. Let's get those KDRs out.
I actually had some good matches in this thing. I really did. I started to kind of come into my own as I played a bit more. Originally, I was like, God, I can't kill a dang thing. I just keep dying. But as I started to figure out, the weapon I had would actually improve in stability and accuracy as I got lower in my rounds, kind of utilize that aspect. And I'm not too good with the single shot weapons just because I can't figure out whether to hip fire or, because they have like that, what do they call that pistol? It's a strong pistol, but yeah, I don't know. Domination or point hold. It's fun, and I like that we started to develop a tactic to win these. We were forcing mercy on a lot of teams.
Yeah, Velociraptor tactics, baby.
Yeah,
flanking them. They didn't even know what to do. We just crush them. Just
exactly. It was basically just we would cut to the point that we knew they were leaving. So immediately we're holding 2 over their 1. And then every time we'd see them start to take a point, we'd just flood to it with at least a team of 2 or a team of 3, and they just couldn't stand up to us. So because they would split up and it'd be like 2 on 3 or 1 on 3. So it really worked out well. But repetitive play of that game mode on the same map, it can get a little bit drooling after a while. So as there's more maps out, I think it would still keep my attention. I don't know if there are any other game modes besides the competitive, which is like
there'll be a lot. There'll be more than that, or a couple.
And there was what were they called? Strikes?
So that's like a mini raid for like a 3-man team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was okay. It felt a little, the one that we did. I assume that there's multiples, like a lot of them.
There should be a few, I think. I don't know how many are launching with.
Or are they ever changing? Like they're constantly changing?
No, it's always just the same. It's just the same ones. I wonder if they'll have like certain ones on rotation, though. You might be right. They might do that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
That to me, I can see getting a little old. I just worry that the game might not have enough longevity for me. Unfortunately, Overwatch has kind of ruined that for me, in that it's constantly releasing new content over the course of like every 3 months or something new to kind of grasp onto. And there's so many different aspects to it, even though you have 3 or 4 game modes. It just keeps upping the ante or kind of keeping it fresh. You know what I mean? Here, I worry that if I'm just doing point holds and then disarm the bomb stuff, it might get a little bit too repetitive and kind of like, all right.
Well, I think once you get like the different guns and things like that, and once you get into the subclasses, that might help a little bit more. And you talked about not liking characters or like guns that are like single shot. That's why I really want you to try the Titan, because he's more focused on like the fully automatics and the shotguns and stuff like that. So you might prefer him just for gun wise.
Yeah, see, and I immediately picked the hunter because I thought, oh, quick paced and fast. And I was like all about that. But as I saw some more gameplay from other Titans that I played against, I was like, oh, well, he's kind of cool actually. So I just didn't like the appearance of him initially, and that was part of it, was the aesthetic appearance to him. So I didn't pick him, unfortunately. But I'm sure with the gear that you get and stuff, you can really customize them to be a neat presence on the battlefield. So, I think I'll pick it up. I know you and Drew are planning to do it, and I think we will have some fun. I mean, if I think back to Halo, I know we had a lot of good times on that. And so if this is anything like that, which it obviously is and probably improved furthermore, I think it'll have some fun to be had. I'll get plenty of hours out of it to justify the cost.
I'll have to figure out my internet by that time. It'll be a good palate cleanser, as you would call it, from Overwatch, because very different games. So yeah. Plus, I like the player versus environment stuff. Yeah. I like doing stuff with just the 2 of you guys against a bunch of, like in Overwatch. Remember when we fight like the Omnics? Like once in a while. I like that type of thing. So
sure. I can appreciate it too. And like you say, every good gamer needs a good palate cleanser.
Yep.
There are times where we can really hone in on one game. Like we'll spend 8 hours one night on a weekend just freaking going at it with Overwatch, and it's like, maybe we should have quit halfway through that and palate cleanse, and that way we don't get too sick of one game and we keep it mixed up and fresh, right?
Yeah, so, definitely. Especially with also I was going to say Doomfist is coming out this week, so we'll have to try.
Yeah, so we've been kind of holding off on Overwatch for like, what, 2-3 weeks almost?
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
Come Thursday. Yeah, come Thursday, I'm going ham, bro. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth the buy. I don't think it's money wasted at all. I just don't know that the beta solidified my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll have another one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but until I play the full feature, the whole thing, I don't know that I'm completely sold. But I know in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's probably worth it. There's a reason it's a top tier game. So
yeah, definitely. Well, to bookend this Timekillers, I'm going to talk about a war movie really quick. Star Wars Rogue One. It's on Netflix now. Watched it again the other day. Still great movie. Still really enjoy it. I really, really like it. There's a lot of interesting characters in there. I really want to do a commentary on it with or without you, Joe. But I'm going to do one because I like that movie because Darth Vader alone is worth the price of admission or Netflix if you have to get it for 1 month. However, you can watch Rogue One. Even if you don't like Star Wars, like this movie is like so much about like the grittiness of war. As far as gritty Star Wars can get, I really like it. All the characters are pretty cool. There isn't a lot of time to develop all of them because there's a lot, but there's just enough to make you feel for them and be slightly emotionally connected to them. And I just think it's a really, really good film. The production quality is obviously there. The only things that are a little weird is there's 2 characters that are supposed to be humans, but they're actually CGI, which is like they're so close to making it perfect, but they're just in that uncanny valley still. It's like, but still, great film. Also, Ben Mendelsohn, the guy that Joe and I know best from Bloodline as like the main villain. That guy's so good. Even like the lisp, like I think kind of adds to like that character because he just has one naturally, and just he still has that perfect like I'm an Imperial like officer director, and man. Just a good movie. I like it. I also like the look of it, the scale of it. Gareth Edwards, from Godzilla from 2014 or whatever, really nails it home. And I just really like that movie. So please let me know in the comments if you want to hear that commentary because I really want to talk about that movie. It's just so much fun. I always enjoy watching it. So, all right, Joe, time to move into my favorite segment, which is community feedback and questions. So we've been getting a lot of love for Comic-Con, especially Justice League and stuff like that. And at Look a Person asked us opinion on the Justice League sneak peek #Critical Podcast. We already talked about it. We both really enjoyed it, right, Joe? But then Anna, our friend, she says #Critical Podcast. I've actually never been to a Comic-Con, so what's the best thing to look forward to when you go to one? Now, Joe, have you ever been to a convention like a comic convention like this before?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll just speak really quickly on it. I've only been to like a smaller one, but the thing that I love the most was meeting the people there. There are people who are enthusiastic about the same things you love. They're happy to talk about the costumes that they've spent hours making. They want to take pictures with you. They want to talk about these things. And it's just a really cool space to be in where your age, your gender, your sexual orientation, your race, none of that matters because you all love these things together, and you could talk about them for hours regardless about how you feel, or even like politically. None of that matters. It doesn't matter there. You just like, I love Star Wars, and this person's dressed up as like Chewbacca, and they're like, and you're like, I love you for loving Star Wars. It's just a fun, jolly time. So if you ever get to go to one, even if it's not the big San Diego Comic-Con, if you can go to a convention, if you like comics, there are like I've been to like a comic convention where it's like almost specifically about comic books. That one's not as fun to me because I'm not like that big into actual comic books. Like I love the ones I've been given as gifts, but it's mostly just boxes of comics. Whereas if you go to like one of these, like a Wizarding World, like the one I went to, like from those videos that you saw, there's like people walking around dressed up and all these people selling different things, lots of artwork, which I really appreciate. So that's my favorite thing about a convention. So if you get to go to one, that's the best possible
It's
thing.
It's a networking event of sorts.
Kind of, yeah, but it's
similar people with similar interests and making friends and just appreciating all the cool things that you spend time, checking out in your leisure. right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We have a question here from our good friend Fragadin. He says, has there ever been a game that sat in your library or a movie waiting in your Netflix queue? Something you had plenty of people telling you that you needed to check out but never got around to it. Then, the moment you finally got around to it, you asked yourself, why did I wait so long to check this out? It's so good. Recently, I had this experience with The Evil Within. I got this game on launch day and only went as far as Chapter 3. 3 years later, I restarted the game, and I'm really enjoying it this time around. Curious to hear your own personal hidden gems. Adapt and overcome. # Critical Podcast. I'm trying to think of a movie or game that I just put off for a long time. Joe, I don't know if there's one that jumps to mind to you for like Netflix-wise. Let me think. You got one? Because for you, I guess it'd be more like a movie. Like I'd be like telling you to watch this movie, and you'd be like, "I'll get to it later, Jeremy." I'd be like, "You gotta watch this now."
Netflix items have I turned you on to in the past? I feel like I have.
Probably
Revenge? Were you into that before I was?
maybe. I don't know. Revenge is like a really weird case, and that one's going away soon, which makes me sad. But Revenge might be one. I was like, man, this show's freaking excellent.
It was good. It was good.
I've got one that's.
How about this for me? Oh crap! DC fighting game.
Injustice.
Help me out, pal.
Injustice.
Yes.
Injustice.
Yeah. I knew it had a J in there somewhere.
Justice League the game.
Good titles always do have a J in it. Anywho, Jimmy, Joe.
Yeah.
Anywho,
did it subtle. We get
it. That was one that I was really torn on. I thought, ooh, fighting game. Am I gonna really am I gonna regret spending $65 on this? I don't. I had fun with it. I'll still have fun with it. There's another one that we can use as a palate cleanser in the future. Haven't played it too much recently, but it's one that's there, and you and Drew had gotten it right away, and I just was kind of like, I don't know, and then I was like, all right, I'm pulling the trigger, I'll do it, and then I didn't regret it whatsoever. So that was something that you guys turned me on to, that kind of sat in the back of my mind for a day or two, and I pulled the trigger. So
yeah, I'm glad you did, and I still really enjoy that game. I think it's like one of my favorite fighting games I've ever played. It's really good. It's just so, oh man, attention to detail on all the characters, so good.
It just makes my thumb hurt really bad.
I know, games are tough. I don't know if there's a game, because I'm usually at the forefront trying to tell other people to play these games. Like you just
he's on the cutting edge.
I'm on the cutting edge, baby.
Nothing that misses him.
Nothing, baby. Okay, I'll tell you a weird one though. It's not a movie or a game, and I'm sorry I'm breaking this, Reagan, and I appreciate the question though. I thought she was crazy. My sister says to me, she says, Jimmy, we watch this show all the time. And I say, you know what? I'm never going to watch this show. And she says, you're gonna watch it. You're going to just check it out. Trust me. She's like, you got to watch You got to watch The Bachelor. She's like, you got to watch The Bachelor. I was like, I don't know. A few years ago, first season I ever watched is this really stupid show. Chris Soules, guy from Iowa, farmer, trying to find love.
Pause. This one kind of applies to me as well.
Yep, it definitely does, because Joe and I watched it together. And like we got, I don't know, like Joe isn't as sucked in as I am. There's like, it almost seems like wrestling, where there's like this underlying fictional narrative that's going through, and once you get sucked in, it's hard to get out, because what they do for every next season is they pick like a loser from like The Bachelor to be the Bachelorette, and then they pick a loser from the Bachelorette to be the next Bachelor, and it goes on and on and on. And then the creme de la creme, the most garbage of it all, the best thing that they've made, is Bachelor in Paradise, where they take a bunch of all the losers, quote unquote, and put them together in this really nice place in Mexico for a few weeks. And then there's all this like, you have to be a couple to survive, more or less, like, because every week the power changes, and to stay on you have to get a rose. So like 1 week the guys hand out roses, and then the next week the girls hand out roses. So if you like hook up and you have like a relationship in the beginning, you're like set, you're good to go. But sometimes new people come in, all this stuff changes. Again, I don't know how much of it's fiction, but it's hilarious. And there's something that is just so enjoyable about watching it. And then after it's done, I'm like, man, I'm glad my life isn't that stressful. Like going to meet 4 different families within like a week or 2 weeks. And you're dating all of these people, like you're dating 4 women and you go and meet all their families and they're like, if you break her heart, I'll kill you. And you hear that 4 separate times. It's like, what? Like, and they're all just like, it's a show. I know it's a show, but like, I'm getting too into it. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, man, it's hilarious and it's addicting. It really is. And they just keep you on that loop, baby. Keep you on that loop.
The drama really hooks you in,
Yeah, it's just, and I don't know how much of it's fiction. I realize that, and all these people are paid to be there, more or less, and that's something to keep in mind too. But that's probably the show. My sister's like, you gotta watch it. Please just watch it. And I've had plenty of talks with her about it. Like we kind of do like the who's gonna make it like top 2, and who's going out this week. And yeah, I don't know. It's just fun to talk about. I enjoy it. So yeah, there you go. And believe it or not, Joe, with that. Oh wait, I lied. We have one more question. It's also for Franken because he wanted to double down this week. He says to both of us, he says, community question. He says, online game guides, yes or no? If yes, are there guidelines? #Critical Podcast. So I asked him about this and he said, so are you willing to use an online guide for a game if you get stuck at a point? Or do you use it on like a second run through to get all the collectibles and all that stuff? And Joe, I know you're not a guy who's usually into narrative games, so you probably have never really used a guide for anything before. Is that right?
Pokemon. I had a friend who had a guide and I had to borrow it.
Oh,
on the old Game Boy, and that's about it.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, I don't use them. And even if I was playing a game like that, I wouldn't need one.
I will only go to it if I'm at a crazy point of frustration and I'm about ready to break a controller or like bury the controller in the television. I'm like, I need to look at a guide because I'm going to lose my mind. And I'm like,
I'll just Google it.
Yeah, I have to look it up. And then sometimes you're like sitting there and it's like really vague descriptions. It's like, what do you mean the corner by the tree and the spire? And then you see it and you're like, oh, that's spire. Yeah. But I say try not to use them. But if you have to, play what you want to play and play how you want to play. I'm not going to, if someone like uses a guide to get through all of Persona, I'm not going to look down on them. I used the guide to get through FF10 because I wanted to get through all the summons. And I just enjoyed that. It was just fun for me. It's a super long game. You might as well enjoy it while you're playing. So, but with that is the end of the show this week. Thank you so much. We went through a lot of stuff this week, Joe, and I'm very proud of us. I think we did a great job.
We did, pal.
But if you have a question for us that you want to tweet at us at any time, all you have to do is tweet the #CriticalPodcast to either of us at any time. I can be found at either at GoCritical or at JimmyGood013. Or you can find Joe at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
That is correct. Now, if you want to see our beautiful mugs, or mostly my beautiful mug, that seems very self-indulgent. I'm sorry I said it. But you can check us out over on Twitch while we're playing games. We're playing some Overwatch, as we kind of alluded to earlier. Great place
for that new character release. Boom.
That Doomfist, baby, that animation. Oh, that trailer. I love it. Give me that anime. Give me that Overwatch anime. Oh, it'd be so good.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank a few people. I want to thank This Is Dale for our great theme music that I love so very much. And I want to thank Joran Evers for making our beautiful art here on the channel. If you want anything done, you can check him out at the Twitters down below. Or if you want to get some of his art and a beautiful avatar of yourself and support us at the same time, check us out at patreon.com/criticalreviews, where you can get, depending at these various tiers, a cool looking avatar for yourself. Like Jonathan Larson, he's at the $100 tier. We're making his custom one right now, fully customized for $75 and up. That's what you get. But yeah, along with a bunch of other things. So it's a really cool way.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll say it's just a cool way to support us. Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to anybody who does. We really appreciate it. And thanks to all you listeners.
Yeah.
We're having fun with this thing. Having fun.
Yes, exactly.
And, hope you are too. I just thought it was appropriate. Defined as of resembling or fit for a monarch, especially in being magnificent or dignified.
Regal.
What a good word.
Thank you.
That was so perfect. Filling in my gaps in my sentences.
Man, we're two peas in a pod, baby. We just compliment each other.
We make a good team.
Yes, we make a very good team. Velociraptor tactics, like. Do you want to be
adversaries?
Do you want to be the Velociraptor that's right next to the snake, or the one that actually attacks Muldoon? Because I think
I'm not taking that risk to be the decoy, man.
Yeah, I'm the decoy.
I'm that one that comes running in like a freaking bull in a china shop, ripping everything to shreds.
Yep,
That's what I do.
I'm the mastermind. I'm just watching. I'm just like, you're about to die.
You don't know what you've done.
Yes, I am the clever girl. That's me. I did it. Yeah, man. Some things you never think you'll say on a podcast until you do. Anyway, thank you, Joe, for another fantastic week. Thank you for everyone. Like you said before, thank you for everyone who's viewing. Thank you for liking and people who are sharing. That helps a lot. And thanks especially to all of our patrons. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So until next week, just remember to adapt and overcome. We'll see you next time. Bye.